Have you ever seen a moment of pure genius just completely fall apart seconds later because of a massive miscommunication? Well, we're going to break down one of the most high-stakes examples ever, looking at how a solid foundation, a rock, can turn into a major roadblock in the blink of an eye. So think about this as we go. What if the very thing that gives you your biggest breakthrough is also the source of your biggest blind spot? That's exactly what happens in the story we're exploring, all about a man named Simon Peter. He has this incredible aha moment right before it all goes sideways. Okay, so to really get the drama here, you have to understand the setting. And the setting is total confusion. Jesus is out there trying to explain his mission, and it just seems like nobody, not his critics, not even his closest friends, is actually getting the message. So the first problem comes right from the top. The religious leaders, the Pharisees and Sadducees, they show up and basically say, all right, prove it. Do a big flashy miracle for us. They're looking for some kind of superficial proof, and they're completely missing what's actually happening right in front of them. And Jesus' comeback, it's just a brilliant analogy. He says, look, you guys can glance at a red sky at night and know it's going to be a nice day tomorrow, but you can't read the massive history-changing signs of the times happening all around you. It's like they're experts on the daily weather forecast, but completely missing the climate change. So he leaves them, gets into a boat with his own disciples, and you'd think, okay, these guys will get it, right? Nope. He tries to use this as a teachable moment. He warns them, be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And this is where you just see the communication totally break down. The disciples immediately huddle up and start whispering, oh man, he's mad we forgot to pack lunch. They take this deep spiritual metaphor and shrink it all the way down to a catering problem. So Jesus basically has to spell it out for them. Guys, the yeast isn't about bread. It's about the toxic, corrupting teachings of the leaders that puff them up with pride. It just goes to show how deep the misunderstanding was, even in his own inner circle. All right, so all of this is building up to this one huge moment. They're at a place called Caesarea Philippi, and Jesus completely changes his strategy. He's done with metaphors. He's about to cut through all the noise and get really, really personal. He starts with a kind of general poll, Hey, what's the word on the street? Who do people say I am? And the answers are all over the map. Some think he's the ghost of John the Baptist. Others say he's an ancient prophet, like Elijah, come back to life. Everybody's got a theory, but nobody has the full picture. And then he flips the script. He looks them right in the eye and asks, but what about you? Who do you say I am? And just like that, it's not about public opinion anymore. It's about personal conviction. It's direct, it's demanding, and it's the question that changes everything. And what happens next? Wow. This is the big moment. After all that confusion, all those missed signals, somebody finally gets it. This is that moment of pure, lightning-in-a-bottle clarity. It's Simon Peter. He speaks up, and he absolutely nails it. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. In one single sentence, he cuts through all the rumors, all the speculation, and just states the core truth. This is the absolute high point of the story. Jesus immediately affirms him, but he adds this really critical detail. He says, Simon, you didn't just figure this out. This wasn't just you being smart. This was a revelation straight from God. And for having that moment of divinely inspired clarity, Simon gets a whole new identity. Jesus renames him Peter, which means rock, and says that on this very rock, this revelation, he's going to build his entire movement. It's an incredible reward and a massive responsibility. But right after this incredible high, the story gives us this little phrase that signals a huge shift. From that time on, the celebration is over. The second that foundation is laid, Jesus pivots to explain a harsh, new reality that nobody was ready for. The tone is about to change big time. And here it is, the reversal. The man who was just named the Rock is about to become the biggest problem. Jesus explains that his mission involves going to Jerusalem to suffer and be killed, and Peter, still riding the high of his big moment, just can't accept it. Peter actually pulls Jesus aside to correct him, saying, "Never, Lord." Now, if we look at this through a modern communication lens, something like nonviolent communication or NVC, we can see what's really happening. Peter is desperately trying to meet a need, the need to protect his friend, to keep his leader safe. It's coming from a place of care. But Jesus' response is one of the most jarring in the entire story. He turns to the man he just called his rock and says, "Get behind me, Satan." I mean, talk about emotional whiplash. He goes from being blessed to being called Satan in what feels like seconds.
And this right here is the whole conflict in a nutshell. One minute, Peter is the foundation of God's plan. The very next minute, by trying to protect Jesus from that plan, he becomes an obstacle, a stumbling block getting in the way.
So let's really break this down with that NVC framework. Peter's observation is hearing a plan that sounds absolutely horrific. His feeling is probably fear, panic, and a fierce sense of protectiveness. His core need is for safety, to keep Jesus safe. But his strategy to meet that need, protesting and trying to block the plan, is what NVC would call a tragic expression. It's tragic because his attempt to protect and connect totally backfires, creating a massive disconnection instead. Now, this intense, painful confrontation, it isn't actually the end of the story. It's a pivot point. It forces a much-needed clarification, leading to a brand new and, honestly, a much more challenging definition of what it really means to follow this path. Right after this blow-up with Peter, Jesus turns to everyone and lays out the real terms and conditions. It's a three-part deal. You have to deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. This is clearly not a path of comfort and self-preservation. It's the complete opposite. And all comes down to this profound paradox. Our natural human instinct, Peter's instinct, is to save our life, to protect ourselves. But Jesus says that real life, true meaning, is only found when you're willing to let go of that instinct for a purpose that's bigger than yourself. And that really leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? Peter was trying to protect his version of the truth, a successful, powerful Messiah who doesn't suffer. In protecting that idea, he accidentally became a stumbling block to a deeper, harder truth. So it makes you wonder, what truth are we protecting so fiercely in our own lives that it might actually be the very thing blocking our way forward?